I woke up with a start, my heart racing, as if something was chasing me through my dreams. For a moment, I couldn't remember where I was or how I got there. Then it all came rushing back. The restaurant, the customers, the staff, everything. It had been another long day at work, but it wasn't over yet. There were still things left to be done before we could close up shop for the night. With a deep breath, I pushed myself off my bunk bed and shuffled out onto the floor. Slowly, the other chefs began stirring awake as well, each one blinking groggily until they remembered where they were and what time it was. As we made our way downstairs to the kitchen, the smell of raw meat hit us like a wave, making some of us gag involuntarily. We didn't have time to waste thinking about such mundane things, though. There was work to be done. My partner, Sarah, shot me a concerned look as she took her place beside me at the butcher block. She knew me better than anyone else, so she could tell by just looking at me that something was bothering me deeply. I shook my head slightly, trying to clear away any distractions, and then turned my attention back to the task at hand. For months now, I had noticed something strange going on here at the restaurant. No matter how many times we ordered new cuts of meat from our suppliers, the quality seemed to decline rapidly after every order. At first, I assumed it was just an issue with storage or freshness, but soon I realized that even brand new batches of meat coming straight from the farm weren't immune to whatever affliction was plaguing them. It started small. Little brown spots developing quickly on the surface of the meat, causing it to rot within hours of arriving on our doorstep. Soon, entire sides of meat would arrive covered in fungal growths that seemed to crawl and squirm under the light of day. Eventually, the flesh itself became tough and stringy, bordering on rotted even before we managed to cook it properly. Something was very wrong with the meat being delivered to us. And yet, no matter, despite feeling uneasy, I continued to use the meat as usual in preparations for dinner service. However, as dinner time approached, I noticed that the once vibrant colors of the meat had faded considerably. Instead of the rich red color of rare steak, it looked closer to slate gray, almost sickly. When I cut into one of the pieces to check for doneness, I recoiled at the sight. The interior of the meat was blackened, charred, and stank of burning hair. Panic set in as the realization hit me. The entire delivery must have been spoiled somehow. I called an emergency meeting with the rest of the team to inform them of the situation, instructing everyone to take extra care in monitoring food safety protocols during service. Just as I finished speaking, the lights overhead went out suddenly, throwing the kitchen into chaos. Several chefs cried out in alarm while others scrambled for flashlights. In the confusion, someone dropped a pot on the ground, sending shards flying everywhere. Amidst the darkness, I heard a low growling noise followed by a snapping sound, and felt a cold draft brush against my neck. Fear gripped me as I realized the windows above us were open, despite there being only screens keeping insects out. Someone or something had deliberately broken into the kitchen. Before I could react further, I heard Sarah cry out in pain nearby. Instinctively, I ran towards the sound of her voice. It led me to one of the walk, in freezes, where I found her lying on the ground clutching her leg. Blood oozed between her fingers. Her face twisted in agony as she exclaimed, "Dave, he was already dead when I put him in the fridge." That moment sent a chill down my spine. Whoever or whatever had caused this mess was not only tampering with our supplies, but also playing cruel pranks on us. My mind raced through possibilities. Our former employee, Dave, who died last month, perhaps. No, he couldn't be alive. Yet how did he end up frozen amongst our stock again? And most importantly, why hadn't anyone seen these incidents occur? The only answer which came to mind was equally terrifying. An intruder sneaked into the premises undetected whenever the opportunity arose. Fear consumed me thinking about what might happen next. As we tried to make sense of what was happening, the power returned, bringing dim illumination along with it. We all breathed a collective sigh of relief, grateful for the return of basic necessity. But the peace didn't last long. Another incident happened shortly afterwards. Chef Mark walked into the pantry and discovered multiple containers missing their contents or replaced by suspicious substitutes. He informed me about the peculiar discoveries right before our lunch rush. Frustration boiled inside me once more. Our culinary establishment risked losing its reputation due to the actions of an invisible saboteur. Was there anything left to do except reporting the events to the authorities? Or should we conduct our own investigation? Upon careful consideration, I decided we needed additional manpower to find with the help of the local law enforcement. We immediately launched a thorough investigation. Detectives combed through each corner of our facility and gathered evidence like fingerprints, footage from security cameras, and even DNA samples wherever necessary. The days ticked by without any breakthrough, making matters worse for our restaurant's stability. Meanwhile, I made sure to keep my staff focused solely on delivering exceptional service to retain our customers' loyalty throughout the crisis. Then, finally, the wait ended. One morning brought unexpected guests who strode past the host stand unannounced. Sarah greeted them warmly and asked if they wanted to sit, but their gaze landed elsewhere. They zeroed in directly onto the spot beside the table. It turned out to be an inspection regarding our recent troubles by the health department and district attorney's office. Before I could engage in conversation, one of them pulled a large envelope from his briefcase and placed it on the surface. My eyes widened upon seeing the pictures projected from its digital display. This scene involved grainy, distorted footage taken via surveillance cameras mounted outside near the main entrance. A shadowy figure appeared on film for mere seconds before fleeing. It captured only a few frames of the mystery individual, enough to leave behind a haunting memory seared into my mind forever. The detectives compared notes from the video with testimonies provided from various employees and narrowed down the list of suspects to those who worked in neighboring businesses. By cross-referencing alibis of everyone involved with time frames from camera recordings, one name kept surfacing repeatedly. That of John, an ex-employee dismissed years ago following claims of corporate espionage. The information we received solidified the connection, leading to swift action to apprehend and interrogate the criminal mastermind behind such monstrous activities targeting our livelihood and passion. After weeks filled with turmoil and fear during the investigation, we were shocked to learn that the culprit was none other than our dear friend John, whose vendetta against our success went much deeper than we ever imagined. Unfortunately, he managed to elude capture during a high-speed car chase after a tip-off. However, we still had hope that justice would prevail, as authorities tracked down his hideout using GPS data from his phone. But tragedy struck when we heard that John committed suicide rather than facing punishment for his crimes. Despite having numerous friends and family members trying to convince him otherwise, John saw no way out of his despair besides taking his life. His legacy became infamous among our small town and within our circles. The guilt of unknowingly providing tools for someone to ruin another person's life will always haunt me forever. The lessons learned cannot be overemphasized. Always remain vigilant when you witness abnormal behaviors within your organization. Never underestimate the extent people are willing to go to hurt others, or how the smallest things can spiral out of control. For just $3 a month, you can have your name featured in my YouTube videos and descriptions. Not only will you be supporting my channel, but you'll also be immortalized in the credits of my content. If you're looking for something a bit more personalized, consider becoming a $25 a month patron. I'll voice your stories and bring them to life on my channel. Create a special drawing just for you, or even write a unique story tailored to your interests. So don't hesitate. Join my patron community today and help me keep the spooky stories coming. And remember, together we can save each other from the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for your support.